Good morning. Welcome back. Rochester today, Friday morning. I'm Andy Brownell, News Talk 1340, KROC AM at 96.9 FM, and it is time for our monthly Destination Medical Center update with Patrick Seeb. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Well, I guess there's so many things happening with the DMC over the near future, but one of the biggest things that we're looking at is this transformation dealing with transit in the downtown Rochester area and immediately adjacent to the east and the west. And heading into our discussion, I understand there's some potentially big news concerning
There is, Andy. Today, the Federal Transit Administration delivered on its $84 million commitment to Rochester to support the development of the bus rapid transit system known as LINK. So it's a very, very big milestone day for us here and the work we're doing and for the Rochester community. This $84 million from the federal government, we competed for it and made our case over the past several years, showed them the design, showed them all of the partners and all of the other sources of funds that would come forward. And they embraced this idea and supported it to the tune of $84 million. And of course, we've been working on it. We've had all the right cues from them, but delivering on it today was very much a milestone moment.
Patrick, is this money already appropriated by Congress? So it's a done deal at this point?
Yes. This has been was in the president's budget. And we've been in the queue for a number of couple of years in the last several months, just finalizing the details. And part of what they look for is once they make a commitment to the community, and they did to Rochester more than a year ago, but they have to keep evaluating the progress we're making because they only want to make this investment on a sure bet when they know that it's all going to come together. And so between the $84 million from the federal government, some $56 or $58 million from the local community via Destination Medical Center, which of course is coming from Minnesota State Transit Aid and County Transit Aid. Those are the sources that DMC is using. And the operating support that Mayo is committed to, which will ensure that there is fare free, that it'll be free of charge to anybody using the system. And all of the design work that has been done, they are convinced this is a sure bet and a sure thing that will happen. And they made that they made that apparent today. Excuse me.
Wow.
So it's really an exciting moment, and construction will begin next spring. The buses will soon be on order. These are electric vehicles, electric buses, so they will be much quieter. They will be much lower emissions, no tailpipe emissions whatsoever. So cleaner, quieter, frequent, a reliable service that will connect the east side of the downtown neighborhoods to the west side of the downtown neighborhoods. So think Slattery Park neighborhood and Cascade Lake neighborhood as the two end neighborhoods, and this runs through 2nd Street on this 3-mile spine through the city.
That's big news. You mentioned the funding coming from state transit funds. Is that separate from the DMC money that comes through the legislation?
No, it's through the DMC legislation, but the source of funds that was appropriated by the state for this is state transit aid, but it's through the DMC legislation. So the state legislature allowed for $65 million of state transit aid and $42 million of Olmsted County transit aid to be used for transit projects over time. This meeting that definition.
All right. So money's in the bank.
Money's in the bank. It is, been long. It's been supported by ultimately, multiple city councils and mayors, and of course Mayo Clinic and Mayo Clinic leadership. So it really has been something that has, been developed over time, and that support for it has been sustained over time.
Are the plans now finalized, or is that still being refined?
It is finalized to the point where the city is preparing construction bid documents as we speak. And so that will be going out to the construction market, the contractor market, sometime yet this fall. And we'll be getting official bids back from contractors later this year, and for approval and advancement early next year.
What can we expect during construction?
Construction on these projects can be disruptive, and certainly something that we're paying a lot of attention to. And we have a real commitment between the city and DMC and Mayo that we are thoughtful about all of the construction that's going to be happening through this very small geography. So not only bus rapid transit, but the Mayo Clinic Bold Forward Unbound project and many other private developments along the same corridor all are wanting to advance during the next several years. And so there are teams of people whose really sole purpose is to think about the construction management to mitigate the impact, and in fact, in really find a way of turning construction into an opportunity. How do we embrace this period of transformation in our city? How do we engage our community to be aware of it and pay attention to it, maybe learn from it? Imagine if every fourth grader in Rochester, as a part of their school studies, came down and spent time in the downtown learning about the transformation that is going on. Because these fourth graders will be high school upperclassmen by the time the Destination Medical Center initiative 10 years from now is complete, and they will be matriculating on into roles in our community. And I think when we think about it in that time horizon, involving the young people today is really preparing future leaders of our community tomorrow.
As far as the disruptions are concerned, are we going to see the roads ripped up, or do we have to develop? Is it more work done near where the actual stations will be rather than all on the entire corridor?
Yeah, there's going to be work along the entire corridor, certainly at each end where there are transit stations. There will be a total of 11 transit stops. These are significant structures and buildings along the length. When I say 11, there's one on each side of the street. So you can imagine that there are these structures that are going to get built. And then there are places where there is going to be underground tunneling going. There's tunnels that have to be developed. There is a connection underneath 2nd Street that will connect St. Mary's Hospital to the north side of the street. So there is a tunnel that will be built under and will necessitate tearing up the street and opening up the street in order to build this underground, this tunnel that is the walkway.
So it'll be a pedestrian tunnel.
Pedestrian tunnel, thank you. So yeah, there is a lot of big and disruptive work. Now, at the same time, and in the same geographic area, there's going to be significant amount of work associated with the construction of the Unbound project, and the public won't be able to tell the difference. Is it the transit project? Is it the housing development nearby? Is it the Mayo Clinic Unbound? All they're going to see is detours and traffic impact. And so that's why we have to work collaboratively to make it as easy and welcoming for people to navigate the downtown. Excuse me.
And with the bus rapid transit, this is a fairly aggressive construction schedule, because we're looking at this thing becoming operational in 2026, correct?
Yes, we are. And I think in the end, when we try to match up all of the construction and the logistics, not only for BRT, but all of the other projects. We will, I think, try to optimize timing. Perhaps there are segments of this where it's best to do all of the construction related to BRT and Unbound in the same time in the same geography and accelerate it. So I think there's going to be a lot of work that it's all about optimizing the timing and the schedule to minimize the impact.
Wow. Exciting times, to say the least.
Wayfinding, I mean, we're going to be really working on improving the wayfinding so that not only do we meet the minimum standards of the orange signs, the orange detour signs that we always see associated with the construction project, but that we are really embellishing the wayfinding to create a much more welcoming experience. And a lot of creative ideas are emerging around what that wayfinding can look like and how to make it easier for people, and not only easier, but actually for people to feel welcomed and attracted to come into the downtown. We oftentimes hear about, or people oftentimes talk about a challenge associated with parking. And in fact, there are thousands and thousands of free parking spots in downtown, in that every parking ramp, all of the public parking ramps are free after 5 o'clock every day of the week and every weekend. And it's really about people learning about parking opportunities because it exists. And so the point is, how do we make it welcoming for people to park, to navigate, to traverse this area?
Well, I'm sure this is something you and I will be talking about quite often as we head towards actual construction. So I look forward to updates all along the way, Patrick.
We'll look forward to sharing them with you, and we'll welcome any feedback or thoughts that you have or your listeners have.
All right. I also understand that one of the recently completed DMC initiatives, the Discovery Walk project, is being considered for some recognition and award.
Yeah, there's an international organization called City Nation Place that is a London-based organization that gives out awards every year for high quality urban spaces and a number of other awards around branding and civic building and destination development. And Discovery Walk has been nominated along with several other really great projects from around the country, around the world, actually. And what they were keen on with respect to Discovery Walk was how we involve the community in thinking about that space, and particularly the co-design model that we are developing in Rochester that encourages and finds way for people who are typically not as involved in civic decision making, and yet are quite impacted by civic decision making. And so this co-design model that we've been developing in Rochester first applied to Discovery Walk, and now it's been applied in a number of other projects and programs. They were really keen on that as a contributing characteristic that has made for Discovery Walk to be an attractive design. And of course, the public art associated with it, the work of Sophia Choi, the lighting installation, and the poetry installation by Ayub Omar that is associated with the benches are also key and unique features associated with it. But Discovery Walk is an example where this notion of how do we construct in the middle of the city when there are operating businesses and need to navigate and traverse that area. And a lot of lessons we learned in that we're applying to the bus rapid transit project. This, of course, Discovery Walk is a much smaller scale geographically, but there are lessons that we learned and experiences that we had. For example, one of the things, and I keep talking about the idea of engaging our families and young people in the transformation, we did what was known as the Big Dig event a
Right.
couple of years ago with our partner Knutson Construction, and they had all of their construction equipment, and the street was open, and they allowed people to climb on the equipment and walk the site and look down and see all of the what actually happens underneath the street, all of that the tight pipes and tubing underneath the city that makes the city go, and had lots of families come out for that, and a lot of families and young kids, and I mean, of course, if you get a chance to crawl on top of a digger or any of that kind of machinery, you get lots of 5-year-olds wanting
Yes.
to participate. Did a
Maybe a few
similar
adults as
thing.
well.
We did a similar thing with Soldiers Field this summer. Again, very well received. And I think that's part of the storytelling that we need to do as a community. And yes, change is happening. Some of that change can be temporarily disruptive, but it's also something to celebrate that we have a growing community.
And speaking of the growing community, I know the mayor has been involved in a initiative to, I guess, elicit the public's input on what they would like to see in the community down the road, specifically a couple decades or more down the road. I believe it's called Vision 2050. And
Yes.
and the deadline for participating is coming up fast.
Yes. I think that the mayor's goal of engaging citizens to think about the city, not just tomorrow and not just in 5 years, but really think out 20 or 25 years is admirable. And her work called Rochester Vision 2050, which you can find on by Googling Rochester Vision 2050, gives people an opportunity to weigh in with their thoughts and ideas. And, I think the hope is that it's not a list of project ideas, but the idea of like, what kind of city do we want to be? What do we want people to think about Rochester and feel about Rochester, and how do we get there? What are the steps we take to get there? But collectively telling the story of what we hope it's going to be. And so this idea, I think, is something that would be great if your listeners could participate if they haven't already. And again, Googling Rochester Vision 2050, they will find ways to participate and how to access that.
Yeah, as the mayor described it, it's pretty straightforward. It runs you through a process and gives you an opportunity to, have your say.
And people have been completing the survey. It's a survey tool in about 14 or 15 minutes. So it's not, it's enough time to give some thought, but it's not going to take a ton of your day. So easy enough to participate.
Well, all right, Patrick. I appreciate again you stopping by and giving us an update. Obviously, big news this time regarding the federal funding for the bus rapid transit. But look forward to next month and another DMC update.
I might just add, voting is underway, I guess. And I was going to say, make sure people get out to vote, but maybe they have already. Voting
Yeah.
season is longer than it used to be. It's not just one day anymore, but that final day is coming up quickly. So, hoping that we have strong participation from Rochester in participating. We usually do,
Yeah, we
which
do.
is an amazing characteristic about Rochester. A lot of civic participation, but that date is coming up quickly.
That is for sure. That'll be a very, very busy day around here. Well, Patrick, until next month, great to see you, and we'll talk again.
Sounds great. Thanks, Andy.
Patrick Seeb with the Destination Medical Center on Rochester Today, News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.